Good morning, welcome back to another vid. The Friday Brew. We having the Friday Brew? Wednesday week. It's a bit old, isn't it? Time for something new, brand new year. I thought let's try something new. Now what I was gonna do was have like a little intro, like 10-20 seconds or something. And I might still do that in the future, but I don't want to get too carried away. Do you know what I mean? It's just a YouTube vid, but I might do that just for the Friday Brew. That's all it will be. But this could be a series of one, and Wednesday week may return. But for now, we're going to call it the Friday Brew. It's going to go on a Friday, not necessarily every week. It could be every other week. It could be once a month. Knowing me, it could be once a year. Or it could be every week. We'll see. Basically, if I've got something to talk about, then it'll give me a reason and an excuse to make the vid. And that kind of ties in with this first point I want to mention. I feel a little bit embarrassed saying this, I've got to be honest. I can't even begin to lie. But I was talking to Pete, SNEStastic, the other day. Now, Pete's a great lad. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of him, obviously. He's been around a long, long time, and he's got a lot of subscribers, and he's a good lad, like I say. Now, I've known Pete since, it must have been like within a few weeks of making my first vid. So it's about 7 years now, I reckon. And so we're talking regularly and all that kind of stuff. And we were talking the other day on Twitter, on like the DMs, like the messaging system thing. And I said to Pete, when's your next Ask SNES video out? And he said, sometime within the next kind of couple of days, give or take. And I thought, brilliant, all right, so I'll watch it, obviously, as I usually do. And he said to me, well, Alex, why don't you think about doing like a question and answering thing, a Q&A? Now, I did do a Q&A like years ago, like I think it was like a 500 sub special, which was a little bit rubbish, but still, it was a long time ago, and it must have been a good 5 years ago, must have been. And I said, no, I'm not sure I could do that. And he said, well, give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? And I said, well, Pete, the worst that can happen is that nobody asks any questions. That would be really, really bad. So don't feel obliged at all. I won't care. Honestly, I'm not bothered. I'm not going to look down and see, if you leave a comment about this vlog in general and you don't ask a question, I'm not going to look at you and think you didn't ask a question. Now, it really doesn't matter. But if you want to ask a question, or 2 questions, or 3, or whatever it is, then what I can make is, I can make that a feature for future vlogs. So when it comes to future Friday Brews. Already I'm embarrassed about that title. But if you don't ask any questions, or if there's nothing for me to answer, then don't worry about it, because I'm still going to make the vlogs and just talk about random things that I usually do. All in the timestamp below, in case you want to skip to them. So don't feel obliged, don't feel like you've got to do it, or that I'm going to look at you and judge you if you haven't asked a question. But if you want to, and it could be about gaming, it could be about music, it could be about life. If you've got a question, and for whatever reason you kind of want me to answer it and give you my take on it, then I will. No real stipulations. I mean, obviously if it's something super kind of personal, like how big's your knob? 20 inches. So you know that in advance. So there's no need to. All right, 14 then. 10? 9? Let's stop there. So, yeah, if it's super personal, the thing is, I've got nothing to hide, but I've answered all these things before. Because being a Brit in America, I've always been asked by people in the comments section, and I've talked about it on video before, why do you live in America? Well, my wife's American. Simple as that. So we thought we'd give it a try living over here. For me, really, more than anything, because I'd never experienced it other than a holiday. So that's the answer to that one. What do I do for a job is a common one. Well, I made a video on that about 2 years ago, so check that out. Although I do want and will get a new job soon, I think. It's long overdue. So all those kind of questions about personal life and stuff have been asked before, so please don't be offended if I don't answer them. It's because I've likely addressed them before. What I may do, I may answer them on camera, but what I may do is just maybe answer you in the description box and stuff, because what I don't want is to be talking about the same things all the time. It might get a bit dull. So anyway, that's Q&As going forward. We can, I guess it's a team thing, isn't it? We're a team, right? We can, going forward, we can make it a regular thing for when it comes to this vlog, a Friday Brew. But if you've got nothing to ask, don't feel bad. I'm still going to do a vlog. All right, I think I've milked that topic, didn't I? So that's that. Now, I should have started the video really by saying Happy New Year, because this is the first video that I've made so far in 2018. So yeah, I hope you had a fantastic Christmas and a good New Year. Christmas for me, yeah, great, always is. New Year as well. I overindulged, obviously, when it came to eating a load of rubbish, because I'm greedy. I did say the diet was going to start on the 1st of January. Obviously, it didn't. Surprise, surprise. It's actually started off all right, kind of, because we went out on on New Year's Eve. We were at some family, local in the area, and so we stayed up until after midnight and all that kind of stuff, and saw the New Year in, and then we came back. But when we went to their house, we took a load of like kind of chips, crisps, and dip and all that kind of stuff. And then we took some of it back with us. Now, I don't usually do things like that. It's like, I'm not, just leave it there. But they were insistent. They were like, oh, no, we've got loads of food, so take some of it back with you. So, okay, fair enough. But I'm not that tight-fisted. I wouldn't, if I'd go around someone's house and bring some crisps or food, I don't take it back with me. I just leave it there. But they were insistent, so okay, I took it back. And then so the next day, on the 1st, of course, I did eat some of that. So technically, I ate some junk food on the 1st. But on the 2nd, in fact, on the night of the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th, I went on the exercise bike. And I was caning it. I was doing really well. Only for about sort of 30, 40 minutes, but at a steady pace. And believe you me, when I came off the thing, I was knackered. So, yeah, I was doing really well. I didn't have any junk food at all. But then on the 5th, we went up to Safeway. Yes, we have a Safeway in America as well. It's not just in the UK. And we went past the healthy food aisle. We got some fruit. We got some stuff for making soup, because we like to make soup quite regularly. Homemade and all that kind of stuff. The healthy option. And we went by the crisps aisle, chips, whatever. And I couldn't resist it, so I grabbed some Doritos. The worst, probably, crisps to get, Doritos, full of additives and flavourings and all that kind of stuff. And but they're addictive. The cheese flavour, obviously, they're the best. I like Cool Ranch, but I'd probably say the cheese flavour's the best. So, bought them, took them home, ate them within like an hour or two, and it was like, oh, I don't believe it. Ruined everything. And then the next day, I think it might have been at Safeway again. Maybe we forgot. Maybe not so much forgot, but maybe we need to get some milk or something. So I went by the chocolate aisle this time, and I grabbed a couple of bars of Cadbury's Fruit and Nut. Oh, and I think, no, one bar of Fruit and Nut, and the other one was caramel. And I ate them with, a cup of tea. I'm so greedy. It's ridiculous. And then I think the following night, or maybe it was the day after, I couldn't be bothered to make anything. And I got back before my wife did from work. And then I thought, do you know what? I don't want to make soup. We just did it the other day. I'm going to do the lazy option, and I'm going to order a pizza. So I ordered a Domino's pizza, and then when she came back from work, she was like, right, should we make some soup or make something healthy? And I was like, actually, I've just ordered a pizza. So that was like $50, $60 as well. So not just was it a waste of money, but it also was more junk food, and I really didn't need that. And since then, that was around about the 7th or the 8th, and what are we now, like the 19th, I think, give or take. Since then, there's been a couple of days where I've eaten a bit rubbish, but generally I'm doing okay again. And I've just started going on the exercise bike once again. So it was a temporary blip, and we're back on track, slowly but surely. So yeah, I'm not obsessive about eating well, but I could never give junk food what's it called, cold turkey. I just couldn't do that, but just moderation, I think that's what it's about for me. When it comes to moderation, I can do it. And I know I can do it because I've done it in the past. But I definitely need to shift, I reckon, at least an absolute minimum stone. A minimum, which is like £12, I think. £12, £13? Absolutely minimum. Possibly more pushing too, to be honest. You know what it's like, you get that little bit older, pushing 40, the old belly starts to increase a little bit, and you become lazy. You become less active. Because I don't play sport anymore like I used to do when I was a kid. Like up into my sort of to late teens, I guess. 5-a-side football, 11-a-side football, in organised leagues, playing cricket, playing rugby, boxing when I was younger, I used to do that. And other stuff as well. I just don't do that. Because you get to be an adult and you just sit down and you watch other people do that. So yeah, the healthy eating thing is something which is going to definitely come back to the forefront, and in fact it is, it's starting to. But every now and again I'm going to fall off the wagon. That's just the kind of person I am. It's just the way it is, quite frankly. have a sip on the Friday brew. What else do I want to talk about? So yeah, I've got a little note thing on here. So we've done the Q&A thing. If you want to do that, you can. Yeah. So oh man alive. So you will maybe notice that I didn't do a video that I said I was going to do and that I should have done, and that was the diary. Well, two actually. It was the diary vid for December. I did really well, you know, coming towards the end of the year, kind of packing in all the diary vids. I think we did like September, October, and November. All in September, October, and November. We did it when we were meant to do it. And then I should have done December, obviously in December, and I didn't do it. Obviously, it's a busy time of the year for everyone. You know what it's like. The problem now is, yeah, I can do the diary vid for December of '95 now. I could do it in January. I could do it in February. It just feels a little bit out of place. So I'm thinking, what do I do? It's kind of a rhetorical question. I mean, give me your feedback if you like. But I'm sort of asking myself, really. I'm like, what do I do? Do I make it now, even though we're not in December? Or do I just wait until December of this year, bearing in mind we're in January, and then do it then, so it kind of ties in with the whole Christmas, December kind of time period? Does it matter? Should I just get it done and out of the way? I don't think it does matter, but part of me feels it may. I'm not sure. So I'll think about it, and part of me just wants to get it done. Just get it done, get it out of the way. And the other part of me thinks, well, it'll be nice to have it in December, but I've got to have to wait the best part of a year for that. And really, also, when I started doing the diary vids, it must have been about 4 years ago, maybe 5. It's taken me 5 bloody years, almost, to just to cover 12 diary entries, which is just laziness. It really is. There's no excuse for that. So we'll see. I may sit down and have a think about it, and if I'm going to do the diary vid, maybe we'll do it within the next kind of few weeks, give or take. If I don't do it within the next few weeks, I'll just wait until December. We'll do that. And then the other video I promised over a year ago, didn't do it. And then I said, oh, well, I'll do it this year. Didn't do it. And it was a Super Nintendo collection vid. You can kind of see quite a lot of them behind me there, both on that side and on the other one as well. So, yeah, I've got around about 60 something, maybe 70 PAL Super Nintendo games. I've got American ones too, but the focus is on PAL games. But I think in 2018, and maybe going forward as well, but certainly this year, I'm certainly going to buy the odd SNES game here and there and the odd Mega Drive game. I've just bought a couple of Mega Drive games actually, which will be on a pickup video very soon. But that aside, I think I'm going to focus more on the Amiga and maybe the ST, but certainly the Amiga, which I'm going to talk about in a second. You can kind of see the Amiga behind me, the Amiga monitor, and then you can see an Atari ST. I'll explain why in a second. That Atari ST is that one up there, the STE Discovery Pack, which I always talk about, which is what I got in 1991, Christmas 91. So, or was it 1990? 91. So, yeah, so I didn't make the Super Nintendo collection vid. Maybe I will sometime this year. It's, again, it's easy, isn't it, to promise that you're going to make a vid, but then, you know, when it comes to the crunch, especially at Christmas, you're busy, family, it's that time of year, it's hard. So maybe my, what's the word I'm looking for? One of the, what's that bloody word? A resolution is to not promise that I'm going to make vids, because I very rarely see it through. Well, I do it eventually, but I just don't do it when I say I'm going to do it. But when you're least expecting it, it pops along. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Amiga. So what you should be seeing there is not the Atari ST, you should be seeing the Amiga 600, because that's what I've got. But I bought an Amiga 600 not too long ago. I've talked about this on vid, and it's brilliant. It worked. It was absolutely fine. It works for disc-based games. I was going to hold one up there, but I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. So yeah, it's fine. It's an Amiga. It works. I've got the Zipstick, which is amazing. There you can see it, the greatest joystick of all time. Fact. And yeah, I love the Zipstick. I remember getting it, I think, for my Amstrad back in the 80s, the late 80s. So it's served me well all these years, and I'll just continue to use the Zipstick. There are other ones I want. I do want to get the Cruiser, which I think is like kind of bright green. I'll say bright green. It's maybe like dark green with bright pink and yellow buttons, I think. I want to get that. I remember it from when I was a kid, but I didn't have one. Competition Pro. There's a Competition Pro on eBay which sold for around about 70 quid yesterday, boxed, and it may have been sealed. But under the circumstances, 70 quid, 60, 70 quid, it's not too bad for a sealed, unused joystick. But it was a little bit too much for me, so I didn't place a bid on it. But I would like to get one eventually. But the Zipstick is definitely the best. So anyway, so I bought this Amiga 600, and I bought it from a guy who does a lot of repairs. He's not so much a gamer, he told me this, but he does do the occasional, play the occasional game. But he's more of a repairer, that's where he gets his kind of kicks from. And he sold this Amiga to me, and I was under the impression, now I'm a bit of an amateur when it comes to all this stuff, so maybe I kind of got it wrong, maybe. Unlikely, obviously, but maybe I did. And I thought the Amiga that I got would enable me to play ROMs. Now, I'm going to use the Amiga, firstly and foremostly, to play physical box games, because I love the nostalgia, as you'll all know by now. I love buying Amiga games and Atari ST games and having the boxes on my shelves. There's a few of them down there, and there's about 50, 60 up here, which you can't see on these kind of shelves. And I love it. It brings back all the memories. It reminds me when I was a kid. I don't even have to play the game. I could just hold the box up and look at the screenshots, and all the memories come flooding back, and I'll just put it back on the shelf, and it's like a buzz. It's like a fix. It really works for me. I just absolutely love it. We're all different, what can I say? So it's not just about playing the games for me. I do like to play them, but it's not just playing, it's having the games and seeing them on the shelf. That works for me. But whilst that is my preference, it would be really handy if I could download the ROMs, put them on a PC MCIA card, like a card reader, via a compact flash, and download some ADF files, put them on that, and then put that card reader into the side of an Amiga 600, which is, I think the card reader is on all A600s and A1200s. I don't think it's on any 500s, is it, or 500 plus? I think it's just a 600 and a 1200. So I do want to do that, because that would be so convenient to play any game I want. It's essentially, well, A, piracy, and B, emulation. But it's emulation through real hardware. So is it really emulation? Well, yes and no. It depends how you want to look at it. But I got the Amiga 600 from him, been playing physical games, all the rest of it, not a problem. And I thought, right, well, I've got my PCMICA card reader, I've got my compact flash card, I've downloaded a few files, I'm just going to basically start playing some emulated games as well, some ROM games. And so I did all that. I put the card reader into the A600, and it wouldn't recognise it. And I tried all these different ways of doing it. I looked online. I'm not an expert. I'll hold my hands up and say that. So I was stuttering through it, thinking, how the hell do I do this? Long story short, I thought, well, maybe it'll just be easier just to contact the guy. He's a repairer. He knows about the Amiga, apparently. So I did. I sent him an email via eBay. I said, look, I'm happy with it. All the rest of it, it works. It's fine. But I thought I kind of asked you if it plays ROMs, and you said it did, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he gets back to me. He says, yeah. He says, what you're going to need if you want that, even though I thought we'd already discussed this, but I couldn't find the message because I think I deleted it, but whatever. He said to me, what you're going to need is, I think it was like a 3.1 motherboard or 3.1 kickstart. Don't even correct me on it, because I don't know. I don't care. Because I'm not interested in it. Even though it's kind of fascinating in a way. But he said, basically what you're going to need is 3.1, and I think I had 2.1 or 2.4. I think it was 2.1. He said, so send it back to me. I'll install the new features. I'll bump the memory up to like a couple of meg, or it might be slightly higher. And then you'll be able to play the compact flash games. And I thought, brilliant, okay, so I'll do that. So I sent that back to him. Actually, just looking on the UPS tracking thing, he received that today. So he's got it, and he's going to fix it for me. Well, say fix it, it's not really broken, of course, because it works. But he's going to put the new features on it, and he's going to send it back to me next week. So then next week, maybe not so much my next vid, but maybe the one after that, you'll see the A600 in the background, because I'll have got it back, obviously. So once he does that, I'll be able to play any game I want with just a couple of clicks of the mouse button, basically, which I'm super looking forward to, because it's going to be really convenient. I'm really excited about that. Even though for me, like I say, it's all about having the original box games. That's where the nostalgia is. I will continue 100% to buy box games. I've bought 3 in the last kind of 48 hours, so maybe they'll be on a pickup video very, very soon. Bought another couple actually the week before that, which should be arriving any day now. So I absolutely love the Amiga. Nothing's going to change. Nothing ever has changed. It's a great system. I love it. So, but that's that. So it's kind of annoying in a way because I thought the Amiga would have played the ROMs as soon as I got it, but apparently not. It needs to add this other feature to it, and then we're good to go. So if you think about getting an Amiga, and I know there's one or two people who have recently, or at least thinking about getting it, then you may want to consider getting the either a GoTech drive or the compact flash thing. They're essentially kind of the same thing. But yeah, you can play any game. It is emulation, like I say, or and piracy, but who cares? I say piracy, I mean, no one's really missing out because you can't buy these games anymore. So no one's losing out on money. And if anything, you're preserving the memories and the history of the games. Or maybe that's just what people say who are breaking the law. I don't know. But technically, it's not breaking the law anymore, is it? So, or is it? I don't know. So that's that. Now, yeah, I'm going to talk now about a couple of things that I've watched of late. So one movie and one TV series, a TV show. The TV show that I'm watching right now, there's been 2 seasons so far. I'm not going to talk about the second one, or if I do, I might very briefly refer to it. But I'm going to focus really on season 1, or series 1, call it what you will. I kind of interchange it all the time because being a Brit, calling it series, but living in America, sometimes I'll obviously call it season. So if I interchange it, you know why. So what I've been watching is Stranger Things. Stranger Things, which I think was the first season was 2015, so it's obviously still very new. 2 or 3, I guess now, years old. So essentially what Stranger Things is, it's like a paranormal show, and it's set in this fictional town of Hawkins in a very real state of Indiana. And there's this lab, essentially, and this lab is conducting supernatural, paranormal experiments, including the use of humans, young kids. I think kids that have all been kind of kidnapped from, a very young age, and you can kind of, or what they've tried to do is to wipe their memory completely clean. And they all appear to have some kind of psychic ability, telekinesis, and what they inadvertently do, it's not the government, it's kind of like this Department of Nuclear Energy or whatever it is, this lab, they inadvertently create this paranormal world called the Upside Down. And it's like a parallel universe, but everything kind of that happens there is bad, and monsters and all that kind of stuff. It's not a spoiler, because you pretty much figure that out straight away. In fact, it reveals it, really. So the main premise is around about these 4 kids. You've got Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Will. And 4 young lads. They're all around about 11 or 12, give or take. And yeah, it just follows them. It's set in the early 80s. I think the first season is late 1983. And you've got this one of the girls who escapes from the lab. Again, it's no real spoilers because it happens very quickly into the first season. She's called 11, played by Millie Bobby Brown, I think her name is. Now, she's a fascinating character, really. Not so much a character, but a real person. As a real person, because she's only, I think, even now, 12 or 13. But if you watch any interviews with her, going back a year or 2, so when she was like obviously 10, 11, 12, and she comes across like she's 52. She's so full of energy, and the words she's using, that was never in my vocabulary at the age of like 11 and 12, some of the stuff she's saying. So conducts herself very well, very mature. It's quite incredible, really. You should honestly check her out, and you'll see what I mean. It's like, bloody hell. Looks older, but more than looking older, just comes across substantially older than what she is. So she plays 11. She's a Brit, actually, but she plays an American, essentially. And then in the second series, very briefly, at least so far, you've got a Brit in real life who's kind of playing an American. It's like, why have they done that? Why don't they just get a Brit to play a Brit role and an American to play an American? And then you've got no problems with the accents. But whatever. I guess as long as they can do a good job, that's all that matters. But so yeah, it kind of pretty much follows these kids. And one of these kids is the unfortunate one, and that is Will. And Will gets sucked into this upside down, and the others have essentially got to rescue him. They've got to figure out how to rescue him, how to get into this parallel universe, along with the help of a number of people. There's Nancy, which is, I think that's Mike's sister. And then there's Jonathan, who is Will's older brother. That's another Brit in real life who plays an American. Does a decent job, to be fair. And then there's Stephen, who's Nancy's boyfriend. He gets involved in it. And then there's the local cop, which is called Jim Hopper. And then there's the mother of Will. In real life, that's Winona Ryder, who does a good job. And so they've all got to kind of figure out, essentially, how to get Will, Winona Ryder's son, out of the Upside Down and away from the monsters and all that kind of stuff. And in the meantime, what you've got is the government stroke this Department of Energy Lab, whatever it is. They want to keep things quiet, of course, because they don't want it to get out that everyone knows this monster's kind of on the loose, essentially, and this Upside Down world exists. So they're trying to hunt down the kids and hunt down 11, who's the psychic girl who is discovered by the kids, and they're trying to hide her and keep her safe and all that kind of stuff. So it's really good, and you've probably watched it. But I definitely urge you to watch it. It came out 2015. I've only just watched it now. The funny thing about it is we sat down, I think it was around about, was it early into this year or was it late last year? But either way, we sat down on a 12 o'clock at lunchtime, and we watched all 8, I think there's 8, all 8 episodes, back to back. I mean, there's the odd break here and there, of course. I have something to eat, go to the toilet. Too much information there. But basically, yeah, sat down at 12 o'clock and watched it all the way through to like sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. It was just ridiculous. But it was really addictive. After every episode, I wanted to watch the next. So the only things I'll say with it is I was led to believe that having, when this thing came out, I mean, obviously it's taken me, 2 years, just over 2 years to watch it. But when it came out, I heard about it, of course. A lot of people watching it. I had been led to believe that it was very, very heavy on the 1980s with references and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't feel it was. Not the first season. The second season, by the time you're watching this, I've probably finished watching it. I think I've got 2 episodes to go. So I'm going to watch, I think, maybe both of them tonight. And the second season is definitely more 80s influenced, in my opinion. And it's not that the first one isn't, because it is. But like I say, I was led to believe it was going to be really heavy on it. And it wasn't for me. There was the odd reference. But also bear in mind it's set in America. So maybe there's a lot of American references for people who are American to get, like brands of cereal that they're eating and bikes that they ride and all that kind of stuff. So to me, as a bit of an outsider, it was somewhat nostalgic, but not massively. Not massively. I was kind of more captivated by the actual story. That is something that I really, really like. But despite that, I did find it very predictable. And it's not a criticism, because I wouldn't have watched it from start to finish in one bloody day, in one sitting, if I thought it was rubbish. It's really good. But I found it predictable. Pretty much everything that I thought would happen, and I would call it as well, a couple of episodes before it happened, it did happen. So you could kind of see through it, really. So it's a slight negative. But I still enjoyed it. And here I am watching the second season, nearly finished it, really enjoying it again. And the only other thing I'll say on this is that I'm slightly concerned because the people behind it, the Duffer Brothers, they've said that they hope to tie it up within 4 or 5 series. And bearing in mind that I thought it was pretty predictable during the first, to do another 3 after this one, I'm not sure. I hope they throw a few maybe plot twists in, but not plot twists in for the sake of doing a plot twist, because that will get very old. So I hope they don't make this, they don't drag it out, basically, to the point where it becomes a chore to watch it. That said, the characters I think are really, really appealing. Almost all of them, really. The kids are really easy to like. They've got this real good chemistry, and they act like they're kids. It doesn't feel forced. They swear, they've got bad language in there. Nothing completely outrageous, but kind of minor stuff. But then you'd expect that, because that's what kids do. And so, yeah, I like it. There's a good chemistry between them all. That's how it comes across anyway. So, yeah, really like it. If you've not watched it, and maybe you're one of the last people who hasn't, check it out. I believe it's a Netflix exclusive. So check it out on Netflix. Season 1 and Season 2 have been finished. Season 3, I think, is due out maybe later this year. So watch it. It's really, really good. So, yeah, not that I know a lot about TV, but with that said, for someone like myself who doesn't watch a lot of TV, and for me to say, you've got to watch it, you've got to watch it. So the next thing I want to talk about, and will talk about very briefly, really, on this one, because it's another one where I'm really late to the party. Another one which was 2015, wasn't it? Or was it 2014? I can't even remember. Oh, I think I just said there. No, maybe not. I think it's 2015, but I stand corrected. It's Star Wars, The Force Awakens, not even the new one. Not even Rogue One. Was it Rogue One? I think that's what it was called. The one that came out after this, which I know is not really connected of sorts. But yeah, so this one came out. Now, I, believe it or not, am, or at least was, a massive Star Wars fan. As a kid, you know, it was my kind of thing, it's my kind of era. I wasn't born when the first one came out, but I do remember when Return of the Jedi came out. I was young, I think I was 4 or 5, but I do remember it, and I had all the toys and all that kind of stuff. And the toys were popular for a good, 3 or 4 or 5 years after the movies. That the brands of toys and vehicles and all that kind of stuff was just, they were selling like hotcakes. So, yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan. But I think just as I've gotten older, you just watch stuff less, I guess, or some people do. And things that you were obsessed with as a kid, i.e. Star Wars, I just less and less into it as I got older. But obviously, I'm still interested in it, albeit from a nostalgic perspective. And I remember seeing the prequels that were made. When did the first one come out? 99? Was that The Phantom Menace? And then you had the other two that followed like within 2 or 3 years after. And I didn't think they were that great. Obviously, not many people did. But I've only saw them once, and I saw them all at the cinema. So what I've been thinking of doing recently, I've been talking about it actually with a few people, and we're thinking about buying them back. I'd probably buy them. I don't mind doing that, because I'd quite like to have them, to be honest. So buying back the prequels, or buying the prequels, sitting down and watching them for the first time since I saw them at the cinema. Now, at the time of seeing all the prequels in the cinema, I've got to be honest, I did walk out and I was a little bit disappointed. Excuse me. A little bit disappointed. Time for another swig. So I was a little bit disappointed, like a lot of people were. But maybe 15 years later, I may enjoy them, or at least appreciate them that little bit more. So we'll see. So anyway, so I've had this Blu-ray for not the Christmas just gone. It was the Christmas before that, and it's taken me such a long time, quite clearly, to sit down and watch it. But now I've got to be honest, it's really good. It's not my favourite in the series, in the franchise, but it's up there. It probably would breach the original trilogy for me. It might maybe creep in on a par, maybe, with Jedi, possibly. I don't know, but I really liked it. Now, one of the things, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but you'll all know this, I'm sure, by now, of what happens with one of the characters in the movie. If not, you may not want to listen for the next kind of 30 seconds or so. But I think everyone's going to be aware. But the one thing that was putting me off from watching this was I was really annoyed, genuinely annoyed, to hear that Han Solo essentially gets killed. Apparently, although some people think that maybe he is alive. I hope he is, but it doesn't look like it, to be honest. Although it wasn't made completely clear that he died. Not really, not definitively. I don't want to be one of those people. It looks obvious. Well, it looks somewhat obvious, but maybe not 100%. But the fact that they killed him off, or it appears that they've killed him off, it put me off from watching it, because obviously he's a pivotal, crucial, nostalgic person within Star Wars, and to myself as well as a kid. And I didn't want to see him getting killed off. So that, as silly as it sounds, was one of the reasons why I was reluctant to watch it. But I knew I had to eventually. And to be fair, I think the way they've done it is quite good, with Kylo Ren, his son, essentially doing it. So it kind of works, to be fair. I know Mark Hamill has come out and he said that he was unhappy that they used Finn and Rey, who were there to witness it, and maybe it should have been Leia and Luke. Maybe, but do you know what? I think it kind of works how it is, because they were very much prevalent, obviously, throughout the movie, Finn and Rey. So they'd been around Han Solo and up until that point of the movie. So it kind of works for me. I didn't so much have a problem with what Mark Hamill seems to have with that, although I do understand where he's coming from. Mark Hamill, I think, said, you've kind of known them for 5 minutes, and there they are witnessing that. It's a bit more than 5 minutes, because it happened near the end of the movie. But again, I take his point on board. But yeah, that bit is well done. The scenery, the imagery, it's really good. It's a good movie. What I kind of liked, and I was surprised actually, is that they threw a few kind of comedy lines into the movie, probably maybe a good 5 or 6. And I've got to be honest, I laughed first time. It didn't feel rubbish. It didn't feel stupid. It didn't feel cheesy, even though it kind of was a little bit. But it worked. They were really good comedic lines. They didn't use too many, because it's not a comedy, but they used just enough that it is funny and that it did work. And the lines themselves actually were, I thought, quite amusing. So, especially this bit about, there was Ray and Finn, and I think Finn was wanting Ray, or maybe it's the other way around actually, to pass her a tool like a screwdriver or whatever it was, and he kept getting the wrong one, and she kept kind of referring to it. And that was pretty funny. Now, I don't know if I was to watch it back and in subsequent future watches whether I'll find it as funny, but first time watching it, I did laugh. It was funny, and there's a few other references as well which made me chuckle. So I liked that. That was good. I thought the ending with Luke, again, a bit of a spoiler, but I'm sure you've all seen it. Ideally, I would like to have seen more of Luke, because you see him on screen for 30 seconds, and 25 of that is when the camera's panning out at the end of the movie. So, yeah, maybe I would have liked to have seen him involved a little bit more, but yeah, it is what it is. At least he's in there. There's a lot of fan references in there. It's good to see C-3PO and R2-D2. Introduces new characters, of course, which I think work pretty well. Finn and Rey, I quite like them, to be honest. I think they work quite well together. And yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? Because Star Wars is so beloved by so many millions of people, and I think a lot of people don't like change. I mean, I'm a fine one to talk because I'm so nostalgic, as I always say. So sometimes I'm adverse to changing, but at the same time, I'm not just stuck in the past. I'm kind of half stuck in the past, but the other half of me is very much looking forward to the future. So I don't mind change, but if I'm happy with the change, then I'm good with it. It's kind of one of those. If it suits me, then I'm happy. And for me, Rey, Finn, Poe, all these other characters that have been brought in, they work. It's good. I really like it. So yeah, we'll wrap it up and say that The Force Awakens, it's taken me a long time to watch it, but I really like it. So if you've not seen it, and again, much like Stranger Things, you probably have, but if you haven't, really do. You've got to watch it. It is good. And then what I'm going to do maybe in the coming weeks is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch Rogue One. So I'll talk about that. I know it's, like I say, it's not directly connected to this story, but obviously it is connected in the Star Wars universe. So once I've watched that, maybe I'll talk about that in a very unqualified way. I'm not a reviewer. I'm not massively into movies and stuff. I used to be. That's the thing with me. I used to be absolutely massively into movies. I used to always watch the Oscars. We're talking kind of mid to late 90s up into the early part of the millennium. And I wouldn't just watch the Oscars. I pretty much knew, A, who would be nominated, and B, who would win. I pretty much knew everything, apart from maybe some of the smaller categories, of course. I used to buy, was it Empire magazine and Film magazine? I used to watch movies all the time, and then I just stopped. I don't know what it is. I think maybe music took over again, because it kind of went football, music, movies, music, football, and then now it's a bit of everything, really. You get to that point in life where you can embrace everything. But yeah, late 90s, apart from obviously continuing to love my music and my football and my games, I was heavily into the movie industry, Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. And I'm only now just very, very, very slowly getting back into it. So you're not going to see, or well, I'd be surprised if you do, like any standalone separate movie vids on my channel. Never say never. Like pick-up vids and all that kind of stuff. It's probably best just to talk about them in vlogs and stuff like this, because otherwise, if I did standalone vids, people would watch them who know their stuff, and they'd just call me out, and I'd be like, right, you got me, hands up. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, anyway, so The Force Awakens, I really, really like it, and you've got to watch it, especially if you love Star Wars. But if you love Star Wars, you must have seen it, surely. So, the last thing I want to talk about is what I'm playing right now, and also a couple of games that I finished. So I'm not going to show any footage. What I'd usually do, and what I have done in the past when I've done these kind of vlogs, Wednesday weeks or otherwise, or Friday Brew now. Does that work? Does it work? Be honest, Friday Brew. I don't think it does. But we're gonna persevere with it. But what I've done in the past for modern games is I've put some gameplay feature up, but my Elgato capture card isn't working right now. So I'm just going to very briefly talk about them without any footage. I might put like a picture up or something. I might not. We'll see. But the first two games, current gen games that I've finished, and they're connected. There's a theme here. It's Battlefield 4 and Call of Duty World War II. So yeah, Battlefield 4, I think was it a launch game in 2013 for the PS4 and the Xbox One? I'm not sure. I think it was. certainly there or thereabouts anyway. And both these games, did I say they're on the PS4 that I finished them on? If not, well, I've told you now. So, yeah, the funny thing is about going back to Battlefield 4, because when it came out, I got it, and I was playing it online with a load of friends, you know, the big scale battles and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't play the campaign. I think I started it and I played like maybe 10 minutes, and then I got bored and went back to the multiplayer stuff. And but yeah, so I sat down just maybe a few weeks back, whenever it was, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to play the campaign. I don't really want to play it online. I'm not. Here's the funny thing with me. I used to be massively into online games. Massively. I mean, you'll know, I used to do all those kind of COD file videos and stuff about 4 or 5 years ago. And I do still play it online every now and again, but nowhere near as much. I'm just not as interested. I find it stressful, genuinely stressful at my age, at pushing 40. I am not about to start stressing out over a load of kids playing online. I find out people cheat online. They sit in corners, you know, campers and all that kind of stuff. And it's just not fun. It's not fun. Unless you're playing with a load of friends, and then that can be fun. I will give you that. But the days of me going online by myself and playing for prolonged amount of hours, forget it. The odd game here and there, yeah, maybe. I still do that. But for a long time, no, I'm just not interested. But I used to be. So yeah, I took it on. I took it online. I played the offline, the campaign mode, a few weeks back, Battlefield 1. And the first thing that I noticed, that despite being a modern game and coming out in late 2013, it actually looks quite old under the circumstances. It's very flickery if you compare it to games that have just come out now and will come out on the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro. It's already looking dated in comparison. It still looks good, obviously, but I could definitely tell. But as a campaign, I enjoyed it. It was good. But I usually like these kind of Call of Duty, Battlefield, Killzone, or whatever it may be. I like these kind of campaigns anyway. So Medal of Honor is another franchise. I quite like that. So yeah, I like it. It was the same old, same old. Nothing, didn't really bring a lot new to the table. But I did enjoy it, and I did finish it. I think I finished it on the, was it the hard difficulty? I think it may have been, I'm not sure. And then what you get right at the end is you get an option to have 3 endings. So I think you can have 3 different trophies on the PlayStation, or achievements on the Xbox. I say 3, it's probably 4, because you get a trophy or an achievement for each one you do, and then once you've done them all, you then get a separate one. So if you're into trophies and achievements, then it might be a big deal to you, but I'm not massively into it. I kind of get a buzz when I get them, but I don't go out my way to get them. It's one of those kind of things. So, with that said, the 3 different endings are all very, very simple, very simplistic. You've still got to get all the way through to the end of the level, and then basically what it is, I won't reveal what you've got to do, but you're given a choice of what do you want to do. Do you want to do choice A, B, or C, basically? And the only way to see those 3 different endings, which even then are very similar, the only way to see them is, like I say, to complete the entire level. So if you really care about achievements and trophies, then to get those, you're going to have to replay that level 3 times. It doesn't take long, and it is quite easy. I don't think I've died once on there, just blitzed my way through it. It's quite good in the sense that there's a lot of enemies to kill, so there's a lot of explosions and all that kind of stuff. So if you like that kind of thing, you might like it. But yeah, the 3 endings, it would have been nice to have seen something different, because the only other time off the top of my head where I can remember a game having multiple endings like that would have been on the 360 or the PS3, whichever one I played it on. And it was a game called Singularity, and that had a few different endings. But again, they were somewhat similar. But you didn't have to, from memory, replay the whole level. It just restarted like the checkpoints, and then you could choose which ending you wanted, which was good, because you didn't have to do the whole thing again. So I quite like that. That was a good game, Singularity. I quite like that one. So yes, I completed Battlefield 4, and I like it. It's a good game. And in terms of multiplayer, I did like it, the big scale battles. It's less kind of campy, if you like, and you get less cheats than Call of Duty. But yeah, I've not been on Battlefield 4 for ages. Battlefield 1, I do play that every now and again, and I do like that. I've not finished the campaign. It's not really a campaign of sorts. It's a load of Battlefield 1, that is. It's a load of mini stories broken down. So it's like a load of mini campaigns within one big campaign. But they're quite good, and they last for quite a while. So maybe once I finish that completely, I'll talk about it. And then the other game I finished, the campaign mode, is, I just alluded to it a second ago, it was Call of Duty World War II. And I've got to be honest, yeah, we all know what it's like when it comes to online COD games. It's a nightmare for the most part playing these days. It's the same old, same old. It's been done a million times by other other franchises as well as COD. But I think, firstly speaking from a multiplayer perspective, even though I've not played it a massive amount, I will say that it's the best one for probably 4 or 5 years. It's the one that I've played more of than any of the others, probably since like Black Ops 2. All the other ones, like Ghosts, I played it very briefly, but then I got bored of it. When I say very briefly, just maybe a few weeks. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, I couldn't stand it at all, absolutely couldn't stand it. Played for maybe half an hour, hated it. Maybe a bit longer than that, but I've not been back to it. The campaign's quite good, but didn't like it online. Black Ops 3, I thought I'd like it, but I got a bit bored of it. And I'm sure there's another one I'm missing out on, I can't remember. But if there is, I thought that was kind of pretty average as well. Oh, it was the Infinite Warfare. Infinite Warfare, yeah, I don't even think I've played it online. I just didn't appeal to me. And so playing this one, it's the first time in years that I've actually somewhat enjoyed playing Call of Duty online. But I'm not addicted to it. It's, like I say, it's highly stressful. It really is. But the campaign is really good. And I think really one of the reasons, and maybe one of the reasons I like the multiplayer as well, is it's got rid of all that nonsense boosting and jetpacks and all that rubbish. And it's old school, boots on the ground, as people say. And it's going back to the World War. World War One, obviously, in this case, not World War Two. And I think it's quite refreshing. It's good. I really do like it. So, sorry, World War Two. Let's go back to World War Two. Battlefield 1 is World War One. So the fact that it's going back to that time period is something that I really, really like. And it makes it seem a little bit more like realistic. And yeah, I like it. And also what I found is the campaign, as good as it was, and I really did like it, one of the things that I love about it is, for me, and the only other game I can think of, maybe to a degree Modern Warfare was like this, but it would be Call of Duty 2 was the other one that had this effect on me. And what that is World War II has, for me, individual missions within the game that at any stage I would love to replay. It's got that kind of replayability. Even though you've finished the mission, you kind of want to do it again because the set pieces are so good, whether it's explosions that were going off, or maybe the acting was kind of really good, or at least that's what added to it. You wouldn't just replay it just to see the acting, but maybe added to it, like what was happening in it, and it was kind of very maybe emotional and powerful, but maybe there's a lot of enemies to kill, or just there's something about certain levels which are so good you just want to replay them. So yeah, the last one game that had that for me would probably be Modern Warfare, like I say, when it comes to first-person shooters. Also, Medal of Honor is kind of like that for me. There's a number of missions in Medal of Honor, the first Medal of Honor on the PS3, stroke 360. There's some missions on that which I love to replay them. They're really, really good. So anyway, I kind of repeat myself. Call of Duty as a franchise, we all know what it's like. But the campaign is actually, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Multiplayer, same old, same old. Voice broke there at 39. Same old. But it's, it's somewhat fun. If you like the old Call of Duties, you may like this one. But unfortunately, the community kind of ruin it. They sit in corners, they cheat, they trash talk, and that's just a little bit off-putting, isn't it? Especially when you get to my age, you can't be arsed with that. And then the last two things I want to talk about, very briefly, is what I'm playing now. Not what have I played, what am I playing? And there's two which I'm currently playing. Well, kind of three, really. You can see the Switch up there. I'm not going to elaborate on this vid. I'll save it for another vid. I've just downloaded a game. What's it called? Golf Story for the Switch. Golf Story. It's a digital-only game. $14.99, so $15, which is around about, give or take, 11 quid. And it's like a golf RPG, as weird as that sounds. And I'm really enjoying it. But I'm not going to talk too much about it, other than to say it's a Switch exclusive, digital-only game. So some straight away won't like that, but I don't care, whatever. And I'm really liking it. It's kind of really cute and fun, and the controls are good. It looks very basic, quite indie-esque, because essentially that's what it is. But it's really good. And the Switch is amazing. Really love the Switch. But what am I playing right now? 2 games on the Amiga. Well, I say right now, obviously, I'll be replaying it again when I get my Amiga in a few days. But what I have been playing is, the first one up is Rodland, or Rodland, call it what you will, which is such an amazing game. Very cute kind of platformer. It's difficult, but it's kind of deceiving difficult, because you'd look at it on the outset and you'd think it looks really easy. And it should be, but it's really challenging. I can probably get to level 20 relatively easily, more often than not. Sometimes I kind of screw it up along the way, but level 20 seems to be the one I kind of get to, and then it gets significantly harder. But yeah, it's quite deceptive, because it lulls you into a false sense of security, because it's so cute, you think it's going to be easy. It's challenging, but it's so, so good. And like many Amiga games, annoyingly, the price for this has gone up. People are asking, like, pushing 80, 90 quid for this. Pathetic. Don't buy it. Do not buy it. I know it's rich for me to say when I've got it, and you may be watching this and you want it, and you're thinking, well, I've got no choice, I've got to. You do have a choice. If I were you, I'd just wait. Or maybe, like I said, get emulation. Get a ROM, a flash card for your Amiga, then you can play it for nothing. I wouldn't buy the box version for that kind of price. I waited for mine, and I got it for around about sort of 25 quid. Now, admittedly, it was a few years ago, when the average price was around about 40 or something. But yeah, people asking for 80, 90 quid, just go away. That's ludicrous. It's really asking too much. But it's a really good game. So if you can afford it, you know. But the problem is, you see, when it comes to these people on eBay, the problem is, if you buy it, or if I buy a game for a crazy buy it now, then yes, to a degree, it's quite justified that we're selfish, because really, we have got to think of ourselves. But it will have a knock-on effect for everyone else. Because if somebody sees that a copy of, you know, Rodland goes for 80 quid, then what's going to happen when the next person who has a copy is going to list it on eBay? What are they going to do? They're going to look to see how much it sold for. And they're going to think, oh, well, it sold for 80. Well, I'm going to list mine for 80 then. So it has a knock-on effect throughout the community. And then we all end up paying over the odds for a game that we really shouldn't have done, because of the greed from some person going back whenever who asked for 80 quid and they got what they wanted. So wherever possible, I urge you, me as well, I've got to practice where I preach. Try not to buy the buy it nows, unless it's obviously a good price. And I don't mind paying a little bit more. I'm not that tight-fisted. But if we're talking kind of double what they're worth, that's awful. It really is. And it has a negative effect, negative knock-on connotations for everybody. So don't do it. He says, having just overpaid for a game, which I'll talk about in an upcoming pick-up vid. Maybe not the next one, but maybe the one after that. But we'll see, whenever it arrives, basically. And then the last one I've been playing lately, another very nostalgic game, as that is mighty nostalgic to me, Rodland, as this one is, and it's Switchblade 2. Switchblade 2, which essentially, again, is another kind of platformer. Another really difficult one. I had the original one, I think, on the Amstrad, Switchblade, which I did like. This is miles better, in my opinion. All over the shop, which is miles better. But yeah, very, very difficult. I've got to... I don't know if it's like levels or worlds or how it works, because you start off... Does it actually show it on the back? Yeah, kind of this one here, if you can kind of see it. That's sort of the level you start off with, or start off on. But then very quickly, within a few minutes, it's kind of like Mario. You kind of jump down to this like kind of hole, if you like. And so if it is the second level or the second world or whatever it is, it's really big. It's like a maze. There's so much to do. It's easy to get lost and quite difficult to find your way out, which is a good thing, because it you know, encourages like kind of replayability and you can a sense of adventure and that kind of stuff. But it's very challenging. And then once you come out of that, you kind of appear back out of like the hole, and you're back on kind of that level. And then at the end of it, you face like what is essentially kind of the first level, I guess, boss, which I struggled with the other day. But I only struggled with it because I forgot he was going to appear. So when it got to the end of the level, this kind of the scrolling moved along, and I thought, oh, like, you know, a cutscene's going to come up or something. But it wasn't a cutscene. It was the end of level boss came up. And because I'd put the Zipstick down, because I thought it was the end of the level, then he started to attack me. And so I lost half my bloody energy, just stupidly. So I'll have to go back to it, and next time I'll be prepared. So, but yeah, Switchblade 2, look at the artwork. It's so amazing. Look at that. It's brilliant. So I'm absolutely loving the Amiga and the Atari ST. I always will. I love the Super Nintendo. I love the SNES. I just love the 16-bit era. This is nothing new to me. You know, it's not like I've had this kind of eureka moment, this epiphany, where it's like, I really like 16-bit. I've never thought of this before. I've always known it. But I think the older I get, the more and more I'm embracing it. And do you know what? I love modern gaming, and maybe I can elaborate on this in my next vlog, maybe next week or the week after, or whenever. I do like modern gaming. I don't think I could do without it. I mean, obviously, I've got the Switch. I'm specifically talking PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. I think I do like them. If I was to get rid of them both, I think I'd miss them. I've got to be honest. But I definitely play them less in comparison to what I used to. I don't really know what's coming out in terms of modern games, apart from two. There's one called Sea of Thieves for the Xbox One, which to me looks really interesting. I know a lot of people think it looks a bit rubbish. It's a multiplayer game only, so there's me earlier on talking about not really playing a lot of multiplayer games these days. But it looks interesting. It's non-violent, it's very heavily kind of teamwork orientated, and it's pirates. Who doesn't like pirates? It's a very cartoon looking though, but I think it looks quite good. So I'm going to get that. I think I'm going to get Sea of Thieves. Or I may wait until see what some of the reviews are like first. So I like that. And then there's another one out, and I might get it on the PS4, I might get it on the Xbox. And I think it's called Deliverance, Kingdom Come, or Kingdom Come Deliverance. Think of like a Skyrim, but without all the monsters and all the spells and all that kind of stuff, but still in that kind of medieval kind of world, like an RPG, an open world kind of thing. And it looks really good. It might be rubbish, time will tell. But apart from those two games, I don't really know what else is coming out. And you know what? I don't really care. I don't look for modern gaming news, and I haven't for a long, long time. If it wasn't for YouTube, I don't think I'd have a clue. So, yeah, as I get older, more and more into my 16-bit, which I've always been around anyway, but I'm more and more getting into it and buying it back, and it really is my thing. But despite having a little bit of a foot in the past, as I talked about before, I'm always looking to the future. I'm excited about the future. I'm not, you know, wishing for the past. Not at all. I absolutely love the past, but very much looking forward to the future, without question. So that's that. I had to cough right at the end of the vid. Saved it to the end of the vid. So it's probably a good time to wrap it up. It's gone on a long, long time. And yeah, I'll be back soon with a pickups vid and other stuff as well. A vinyl vid will be coming up soon. The diary vid, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. And then another vlog and maybe a football video or two, which you all love, obviously. So, as I said at the start of the vid, if you want to ask me any questions, I can maybe start to make it a regular feature on upcoming future vlogs, Friday Brews, if you like. Still sounds ridiculous. But don't feel obliged. If you don't ask me any questions this week or any week, I'm still going to make the vlogs, so don't feel guilty. But if you're interested, if you've got a few questions you want to ask me about gaming, like I say, about football, movies, TV, music, whatever it may be, life, politics, let's not get too heavy. I know a lot of people don't like that kind of thing. But yeah, feel free by all means. It'll kind of be interesting to see if anyone takes me up on this offer. I'm not expecting anyone to ask me questions, so I guess you can surprise me if you want. It's up to you. Anyway, thank you for watching. And until my next vid, see you later. Happy New Year, even though we're like 3 weeks into it. But have a great 2018. Let's all make it a very good one. See you soon.